wrong folder. Um, yeah, no, but I was, lucky me, my husband is at home on Sundays, and so I was able to call, and he didn't pick up the first call, and I was like, so he picked up the next time, and I said, you gotta send me my text. He's like, oh, how could you? And I said, I brought the wrong folder. He's like, well, okay, in that case. So I did bring the wrong. So I will be looking obnoxiously at my phone today. And the question I wanted to begin today with was, I want to take you all back to when you were 6 years old, okay? Barbara, what's your earliest memory?
Oh,
How old were you?
I was climbing the windmill on my grandparents' wheat ranch, and I was 2 years old.
Oh, okay.
And I have a picture of it.
Okay, all right.
They made me do it the next day so that they could.
So they could actually get it photo, like, to put in the books. Okay, all right. Everyone except Barbara. Think about when you were 6 years old, 6, 7, intimately. So where were we? We were either just about getting ready. Maybe you had a sibling who was slightly older than you or maybe younger than you, okay? And I want to ask you, did you know during that age when you knew something was unfair? Oh, yeah, you knew when something was unfair, and you didn't need anybody to explain the injustice to you. You didn't need anybody to tell you that you felt injustice in your body, and you probably felt it. And here's the thing. As children, developmental psychologists have been doing a ton of research, and they will tell us 90%, 99% of kids who are 6 and 7 and younger, it might be getting a little bit, as the ages continues to decrease as they're evolving faster, but during that age, 99% of the kids instinctively know, innately know, between right and wrong. They do. Not only that, they are also innately, intrinsically inclined to be just kind to others, kind to animals, kind to self. And the notion of play and fun is mandatory. Like, you don't play, you don't have fun, like, you don't play to have fun. Play is just a part of it. This is the age where we did things, where we played, when we let things allowed to be. And Micah asked this question that every religious institution eventually has to face. What does God actually require of us? And 6, 7-year-olds can memorize what Micah just said. And what is it, friends? It's to do justice, love kindness, walk humbly. Walk humbly. We also find in Matthew, and we know this example well because Jesus, the parents are bringing the kids to Jesus, and Jesus is busy, of course, and the disciples are as busy trying to get them away so that Jesus is not interrupted. And to be fair and to be frank, our churches have done that well beyond Disciples' Day. We have been busy trying to say what is important, and when kids are intervening, interrupting. And to that, I wrote in my hard copy that our United Methodist denomination, we have literally lost 2 generations. Between you and me, we've lost 2 generations. That's where we're at. And I'm not surprised when our conference does nominations committee, there's nobody. There is nobody. And I'm not kidding you. We're really, this is where we're at. We've been so preoccupied with gatekeeping and what is correct that we have failed to see who are in our midst. Let the children come. Do not stop them. The kingdom of heaven belongs to such as these. Not someday. Not when they finish their schooling. Not when they understand the entire theology. The kingdom of heaven is with them now. Not when they're actualized, not when, it's not as Sigmund Freud is thinking of humans as mini humans getting ready to be developed as full adults. No. Jesus is not seeing kids and children as incomplete or on their way to becoming. Jesus sees them as kingdom belongs to them as they are. The love and kindness that comes out of them instinctively, how they recognize injustice viscerally, and when they know something is wrong, they will speak to it. How many of you guys can recall a time in your childhood when in passing an older adult, maybe a teacher, maybe a grandparent, maybe someone you respected along the line said something in passing and you were like, I don't know if that was right. Glennis is shaking. I remember as a child hearing some conversations adults had in church. I mean, gosh, as a pastor's kid, I hung out at church. Kids, poor kids. And I would hear adults talking, and I remember thinking, duh, when I'm her age, I'm not going to say things like that. Because even as a child, I'm thinking, that doesn't sound nice. Or to an adult who, I have to say this because I got a chip on my shoulder. It was not too long not too long after I immigrated to the United States, and I didn't have a lot of clothes. And so I just wore clothes that are in my wardrobe, whatever. I felt independent for wearing my own clothes, but I had mismatched somehow. I had very pastel green socks with a white and pink dress on. And this kind lady, the choir director, comes up to me in front of everybody, says, "Oh dear, honey, you don't match at all." Okay, a kid feeling that. That's why I have a chip on my shoulder. That's why I'm still saying this in my mid-40s, right? But kids remember, and it stays with us, friends. A small, minimal joke to help you understand that it's not small. And let's be real, our church, not our church, but churches have not always been a safe space for our children and youth. I know this not only theologically or statistically, but I know it personally as someone who grew up in the church, and I experienced harm in the church when adults were preoccupied with a lot of things, prioritizing other things. And in the meantime, the protection of the most vulnerable was just out of the window. And add to that, when complaints are made in religious institutions, how are they taken seriously? It should. Instead, what do we look at? Not all churches, but we say, well, geez, that member is like the highest tithing member of the church, and I don't know, if we say something bad, right? Or we say, understanding our culture context, we probably shouldn't talk about that mental health stuff, so let's just not talk about it. Or you go higher up and you call the people at the top saying, this is what I'm reporting, and they say, well, that's just the case. You just kind of have to work with it. Friends, there's too many times when we make cases and it's just seen as, well, deal with it. We've been dealing with it. Deal with it. Why are you not able to deal with it? Think about the number of kids and generations who lived with parents and instructors who adamantly believed that conversion therapy would help our LGBTQ questioning to find a solace somehow. There's a documentary on that, and it is just heartbreaking to see that due to adults' discomfort, the implications that it had. Friends, specifically for our LGBTQ youth right now, you've seen our states, different states in our country, dismantle the very protection that our kids need. And maybe you're on the stance like, kids don't know. Kids shouldn't have so much power in making decisions. That's okay. But are you even making any room for them to have a say? That's what I'm trying to say. I'm not saying do this, don't do that, but are we giving our children the space to actually even explore or question in safety? The Trevor Project's research tells us that LGBTQ who lack family acceptance are not twice, are not 3 times, not 4 times, not 5 times, not 6 times, not 7 times. They are 8 times more likely to attempt suicide. 8 times higher when family acceptance is not in the picture. Children who know, with the same bone deep knowing that we all had when we were 6 or 7, that their existence is not a problem to be solved, but that they belong in the room. And they're being told by legislation, by states, by school, by churches that they do not. Today, as we're putting a bookmark in our ear of protecting our young and vulnerable, I want to tell you that inclusive in theory is not the same as inclusive in practice. Right? We say, a lot of churches like us with the rainbow sign, very progressive, kind, nice, may appear as though we're open. And yet, it is in the same places where kids have trouble saying their pronouns, where kids have to fix themselves to fit what they think they will be accepted when they enter the space. Friends, Jesus reminds us, the kingdom of God is theirs. What we have been socialized out of, the kids innately have it. The kingdom of heaven is theirs because they already inherit the values that we ourselves once knew. We so knew, but as we grow up, somehow other things became more important, and that became to be. All right, so there's a lot of things that we'll be going through our worship, but here's a time I'd like for you to discuss with your neighbors around. We call ourselves a conversational church. You could stay, remain silent if you wish, but I will give you some time, 10 minutes, to talk with your neighbors. And here's a question I'd like for you to think about. What parts of yourself, when you were a child, were they not welcomed? Which part of yourself was not welcome when you were a child? And then ask yourself, what would it be if that part was welcome in this space? Does that make sense? Go back and remember when you thought something was wrong. I know that I was always too much for my mom. Like, oh, this is too much. But that too much made me feel maybe not normal, right? But that's what I lived with. But however, the too much is not the muchness, but it is the actualness. That is it. So ask yourselves, friends, what was the part of you that was not welcomed? Maybe it was the clown version of you, or the one who couldn't stay put because you're struggling with ADHD, and imagine what would it mean if you had the same welcome, not for yourselves, but for our children today. Okay? All right, let's discuss, and we'll come back in 10 minutes. Thank you. What did you discover? Or what's another reckoning or realization that you have had that you'd like to share? Okay, we have Minda. If you could speak only because we have folks online as well. Thank you.
I got permission before sharing this from Rob, who's visiting here from Ashland United Methodist Church. So thank you, Rob. He had an older brother who liked to hold hands with his girlfriend, and he admired his older brother. And so when he was in first grade, kindergarten, there was a cute girl in his class, and he liked to hold hands with her. but the teacher would snatch their hands apart. And what he learned is boys can't be affectionate. Fascinating.
Yeah. So just from that simple gesture, we kind of interpret or internalize what that would mean. Absolutely. And it's not just sometimes we're called out for doing something. Sometimes we're called out for not doing things too. Like, why can't you be more talkative? Or why can't you be more outgoing? Because I'm not outgoing. What are some other parts that you shared, friends? Yes, Crystal. My hype buddy.
Yes. Hi. So for me, like I was well supported and well loved by my church family and by my own family. And then when I realized, like, oh, not everyone is. Like, who do you love? Oh, no, you're not acceptable here, and there's no path forward. And I was like, oh, that's not comfortable. And then I was Baptist, so when I was like, I'm feeling called into the ministry, and my pastor was like, well, you're the wrong gender. And so I was like, he actually suggested that I marry a pastor. And I was like, cool, healthy dynamics. And as a teenager, like even just to be like, way healthy dynamics there. And there was like, or you could teach abroad. I was like, oh, I could teach black or brown people, but not white men? Is that what you're saying? So my poor pastor, I would hit him with my car if I could. But then that's not healthy. God will deal with that. My heart is changing as I get older. But yeah, just because I was safe and I saw that others were not, it meant that I was actually not safe. Like I knew in my little heart that like, oh, I'm not actually safe here either. As long as I play the game, I'm fine. But if I become real, I'm out.
Yeah. Yeah, and we get that message really strongly and clearly. It's like before you can even comprehend, you just know something that it's not right. Anyone else? Yeah. I feel like you're going to bring a different perspective, Heather.
I don't know. Our group was talking a lot about these, actually kind of similar to Rob's story of like these things that happen that teach us these lessons, and we embody them, and then years later they come back in this visceral reaction that we didn't even like really hold on to that memory in an objective way, but then we have this visceral reaction to it, and then we're like, oh, that's something. I guess I should wonder about that. But one of the themes of our conversation was a lot of the time kids are just so straightforward, logical about things. Like Glennis's example from her memoir, everybody hang on for that, is that Jonah was spit out of the whale because the whale didn't want any of Jonah's poop in to give the whale bad breath, obviously. Very logical. And it was looked at like okay, let's kick you out of here sort of thing. And then the story I was sharing, which actually I've shared with you, is that when we would have communion Sundays, there would always be, leftover juice, as there always is, because you can never make the exact right amount. And so I would drink them, and whatever I didn't want to drink, I would then throw away, because that was what we were supposed to do, is throw them away. And then I was told that was, being disrespectful to the sanctity of communion and to the sacrifice of Christ. And so whatever, I just threw them away instead. And I had that question. I said, so you want me to just throw them away instead of drinking them and throwing them away? You want me to just put them straight into the trash? And yes, that was the preferred method. I was like, okay, fine. Yeah, I didn't get it. But that was what I was told to do, so I did it. And then many years later, as you know, Caleb and I take care of the communion here, and I believe it was Eleanor, actually, who came up to me, and there was leftover juice, and she said, oh, can I drink it? And I had this, instant, visceral reaction of, disrespectful sanctity of the blah, 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 blah. And I was like, no, that's stupid. I was like, yes, you can drink it. And now the girls always go up and drink it.
Now there's no, it's all gone.
It's always gone, and I
It's
love
always
it. And it makes me so happy, but we were talking as a group of like these things that happen maybe even once or twice, these little things that whoever said it to us didn't mean for it, maybe sometimes didn't mean for it to be more than what they exactly said.
Yeah.
And they have this impact that is entirely different that we may or may not see until way later. And so what do we do with those things, and how do we bring that part of us that is, you know, maybe the whale spit Jonah out because God told him to. Maybe the whale spit Jonah out because he didn't want poop in his mouth. I don't know. Like, both of those seem very reasonable. So.
Absolutely. We should have more conversation with kids. They would tell us a ton. But I think that's what Jesus is getting at. Protect these kids who know kindness intrinsically. Protect their vulnerability. Protect their ability to have fun. Protect their ability to play, right? Protect them at all costs, because for kingdom is already theirs. Friends, we are so lucky that we have kids roaming around and they don't see any of those mean stares and have to process as they grow older. You know what? I did sing into the microphone once and they gave me that nasty look. No, right? We all have fun. We all have fun. And so know that our small gestures make a huge difference. And we are actually forming that. Avery's been with us forever. How many of us actually think about and ask what Avery thinks, right? You don't have to say anything. I'll put you on a spot. But likewise, today we're going to do something really interesting. After service, we're having a family ministry / youth children meeting to dream about what we want to do for our kids. It's been 3 years since I came, and I have not been able to put any emphasis on our children and our youth. And the thing is, we can always say, well, there's always work to do, but unless we actually put our foot down and make it known, I don't think it will be possible. So today, after service, everyone is welcome. Come and dream with us what you would like to see. We'll hire a youth worker, and we'll make sure our children grow with us, and we grow into a healthy community that this whole world really yearns for and that you yearn for. So let's pray. Oh, friends, open your eyes again. Sorry. Open your eyes, and I want to acknowledge the current volunteers who volunteer their time with Sunday school and youth. Would you, if you have served as a Sunday school, served as a volunteer, would you just stand up in this time and space? Thank you. I have a bias that those who serve as Sunday school teachers had a particular experience that they too had that perhaps they might want to transmit or want to share or make that available. Friends, we're going to go into the litany of commitment.